What is going on at the Taking Off channel? We're going to talk about it on this podcast now. Hello and welcome to the Taking Off podcast. You're listening. I'm Dan Milliken.
Awkward intros by Dan.
Yes. So,
and I'm Christy Wong.
Yes, awkward as I had just rushed in here. I just dumped all my stuff. Christy beat me here to the studio. I'm going from one thing to the other, just not doing anything well here as I had to leave a tour of the Dallas-Fort Worth TrayCon. And then let me mute you for a second here.
I don't know what's going on. You know, we had a conversation recently about you overcommitting to stuff.
Yeah, okay. So that was definitely guilty today. I kind of definitely pushed that pretty hard. And so we had a for aerial surveyors or photographers, the TrayCon reached out to all of us to have a meeting and a tour because they have been inundated as of late with requests in the DFW Bravo to do aerial missions, aerial survey. And so they're creating a whole new procedure for, getting all that. And so we got invited there, and I was able to at least make the meeting part and a little bit of the tour of the actual TrayCon, but I had to leave before they did the DFW Tower, and I'm really regretting that.
I've been up in the tower before. It's actually really cool. You missed out.
Well, I met Mike Coyne there.
Yeah.
So
I know Mike.
Mike felt for sure that we had met face to face. I'm like, no, we haven't. And he goes, oh yeah, it was Christy. Yes. So I know you'd already.
Yeah.
We
actually went. We flew together in his flying club's Bonanza.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was fun. That was a long time ago. I've known Mike for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I've met him via the Facebook group for North Texas Aviators, and then I've talked to him on the way out when I go east because he usually works the east side of Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So not the west. If he worked the west, I'd talk to him a lot more.
Yeah, same. Well, I talk to both probably equally now.
Okay, so this podcast, we record our podcast, try to get a bunch done at one time, and a bunch meaning only 3 maybe or 4. But this one is going to go out next. It's going to go out this Sunday. And I, for the first time in the channel's history since the first 6 months, have only released 1 video a week in the last couple weeks.
Something overcommitting.
Well, yeah. Overcommitting. I'm not committing, but I've taken a break.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different. It's okay to take a break.
Yeah. So
if you're overcommitting yourself to other projects, that's different. That's where I give you.
No. So I could have powered out more videos the last couple weeks. I have enough in the can to edit, and I just decided, you know what? No, I'm just going to slow down for a minute.
Good. You need to. I'm glad.
Yeah. So there hasn't been, all the, the 3 or 4 videos a week. And even the podcast. We did not have a podcast the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I just well, you know what? I'm not going to sweat it.
Well, we didn't do anything over the holidays. Like, we didn't record anything.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything like that. We were focused on family and stuff.
Yeah. Now, there has been a ton of news, and I've tried to get a few of those out. One of the news stories I just did from my car on a long 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
So and that's the level that we've fallen to here. But we're about to pick it back up, and my break time is almost over.
Okay.
So because what I usually do is work every night editing. Every night I edit. And a lot of people don't understand what goes into creating a YouTube channel, but it takes a ton of work. So even if you're only doing 1 video a week, Brian Turner will tell you, because that's his goal is 1 video a week. And he was very pleased that he met that. And I'm like, oh, you lightweight? We're doing 4.
Yeah, those are rookie numbers.
Rookie numbers.
Got to pump those numbers up.
But we were able to get into the flight simulators for Envoy and knock out 2 different videos that are going to be coming up soon.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. So one of the things that a lot of people have been asking me is, oh, when do you upgrade to captain? When do you upgrade to captain? I'm upgrading soon.
And we're going to do a podcast on that too.
Yeah. So we'll I guess we're going to talk about that later. But the simulator, that was a really good introduction into what it's going to be like. I had not done any training, any substantial training from the left seat of the 175. And it was like, whoa. So I've already started studying.
Oh,
I did. I whipped it out and started.
Because that's how you operate.
That's 100% how I operate. It's not as easy as, you just sit in the left seat and, your view is a little bit different. Like everything is different. All the flows, everything, and the decision-making process is different as well.
I guess if you do something 10,000 times from the right seat and you're used to, you reach your hand out this side and then you look to this side and you do it 10,000 times. Now you get on the left side. I can see how that just totally messes you up.
Oh, man. Yeah. How many times have I turned the APU on after landing? I reach up and it's right there. But when you're in the captain's seat, you go to reach for it, you thinking it's going to be over there. No, it's right there, and just looking, I realized too, just looking over, I was lost. I know from the right seat, the FOC, I know exactly where to point my eyes to go to see the ICAS. Mm-hmm. I know exactly where to go to see where everything is. And from the captain's seat, I was like, where is it? I mean, it's going to be a wild time.
All right. Well, we can talk about your move to captaincy, the fact that you don't want to be a captain. No, I'm just kidding. You hate that I teased everybody on that one episode.
Because I'm getting messages. People are making comments and sending me private messages and stuff telling me what a bad decision it is to not want to be a captain and that I'm going to be stuck at a regional forever. And there's so much there. And I'm just honestly, I don't even want to deal with it with the comments.
For those who didn't see that previous or listen to that previous podcast about Christy's hesitancy to move to the captain's chair, Christy, what are we talking about?
It's a lot. As of this month, I'm number 23 in base for my seniority out of 400 and something.
As an FO.
As an FO. That's incredible. That's really good. I get one of my top 2 or 3 choices. I think last month I was like, oh, wow, I got my 4th choice. That's terrible. I mean,
right.
And when I upgrade, I looked to see where I would be at when I upgrade. I'm going to be number 305.
Out of how many?
400 and something.
Oh,
400
wow.
and something captains. So I'm going from the top, 5% to I'm going to be way down there.
Will you still get a line, you think?
Yeah. I'll be a line holder, fortunately. I'll be one of the bottom line holders, but I will be on. Okay, let me just, I know you want to talk about this in another episode.
No, well, I've given that up and we're talking about it on
We're
this
talking
episode.
about it now. Okay. So when I first got hired with Envoy, it was no surprise that they, do these upgrades. So basically, once you hit 950 hours, once that next, vacancy comes open, they displace people over to the captain's side. So they do that because they need the captains. I mean, trust me, if we could all just stay FOs forever, we would. But the company doesn't operate that way. The company needs captains, and I completely understand that. Which, funny enough, is a far cry from from 10 years ago when people were trying to get to the captain's seat and couldn't. So that's a whole other topic. But at the time that I got hired, there was a lot of trepidation about it. It was, which airplane am I going to be on? What base am I going to be at? And how long will I be on reserve? That was a huge concern for a lot of us. I remember Kevin talking about it. When we still had the 145s, he's like, oh man, I'm going to get displaced and I'm going to have to go to the 145 in Chicago and I'm going to be a reserve up there. And we had a lot of conversations about that. But then the 145s went away. We got senior enough to hold DFW, and I know I'm going to be a line holder. So at this point, I know I'm just acting spoiled.
Right.
I get it. But it's still, in this industry, your quality of life is 100% based around your seniority. How senior are you? How, what, not just can you hold a line, but what quality of line can you hold and things like that. And so that's where I'm at now, where I'm like, well, I mean, I keep having to tell myself, stop acting spoiled, because I am in a much better situation than a lot of my cohort was, just a few years ago.
Okay, so will you make substantially more money as a captain, the same or even less?
I'll be at the same. So the way that it works right now with our airline is once you hit 750 hours, they put you on captain pay. And it's a retention tactic for the company to retain those FOs to become captains. So, I mean, I've been on captain pay since 750
No
hours.
wonder you want to. Why some people, the universal you, want to sit in the right seat longer is because you're already getting the pay without the responsibility.
Right. I mean, it's, back in the day before they started doing that, you had a huge incentive for upgrading because it was not only are you going to get PIC time out of it, but you're getting a substantial pay increase as well. And, I still haven't gotten PIC time in the 175. I've already gotten that pay increase. So, and now that PIC time is not as critical as it was a few years ago. A few years ago, you couldn't get interviewed or hired with the legacies unless you had 1,000 hours of turbine PIC and stuff like that, or 121 PIC. And now a lot of these carriers are taking FOs without any 121 PIC time. So it's not as mission critical as it was, a few years ago.
You're with a regional, and in years and decades past, the regionals were absolutely a stepping stone to the majors. And most pilots, it was always, how fast can we get out of the regionals? That's changed today, right? People are looking at the regionals as a life career.
Some people are.
You're considering it.
I mean, I've considered it. Yeah. It's not a for sure thing. It's just that it's no longer a scramble to get out of the regional to get to a legacy carrier anymore, because the regionals have really come up in terms of quality of life and pay. Those were the two big things. You scramble, you build your time through, you use the regional as a stepping stone so that you can get to that better quality of life, better pay, and whatnot. And now they've leveled up. It's still not 100% there, obviously for the regional carriers, it's not going to be, it's a huge improvement. And it's enough of an improvement to where I know a lot of people that have made the decision to not go to a legacy carrier. At Envoy, we have a guaranteed flow through program to get to mainline American, which is a really great benefit. All three of the wholly owned carriers, Envoy, PSA, and Piedmont, have this guaranteed flow to get to American. I know a lot of people, a lot of captains now that have bypassed the flow. The guy I flew with yesterday, in fact, he bypassed the flow. He's staying with Envoy.
Is that something you get to choose, or do they kind of force you?
No, you can choose. You can choose yes or no to the flow.
Okay. So he has decided for now to stay with Envoy. And later, can you change your mind?
I think at some point, it may come around in the future again, but I think once you say no, it depends. If you're a line check airman, I know you can bypass it for a couple of years and make a decision later on, because they need line check airmen, at Envoy. But I think once you say no, I think you wind up staying. And I don't know what that looks like for future. I'll be very honest with you. It's not something I've really looked at. But I know that once you say no, you've said no for a really long time, at least.
Okay. What is a line check airman exactly? What are their duties?
They're an instructor pilot for the airline. So they're somebody that's going to perform line checks, initial operating experience for new pilots. When I go to my qualified upgrade training, I will be paired with a line check airman. Once I get through the ground school simulator training, et cetera, and I go through my check ride in the simulator, they'll put me on the line to go actually gain line experience with a line check airman who will sit in the right seat. And it's very similar to a CFI structure. It's just more professional, and it's, much higher level because you're at that point now where you're flying jets with, people and whatnot. But yeah, they just they sit there and they train you and make sure that you're good to go. And then after 50 hours, you get a line check performed, which says, yeah, she's good to go. She's ready to be a captain on the line. And they turn you loose in the wild, and you get to start flying with real FOs.
A line check airman, is that something that the FAA certifies, or?
You get a letter from the FAA, yes. You go through training, And you have to get a letter from the FAA to become a line check airman.
Do you have to have a check ride with the FAA?
Yes.
Okay.
Or an FAA representative, which is an APD.
Not
with
like
the
a
company.
DPE.
It's an airline DPE, effectively.
Right. Okay. All right. So that's what's happening with you. We talked a little bit about what's happening at the channel. The other thing that all brought that whole captain discussion was when we went into the simulators, we actually filmed 2 episodes. So we filmed an episode of you sitting left seat for the very first time, and that's coming soon. And that'll come first, by the way. But we also filmed another episode, and we actually filmed that one first, and that was before Dan's done anything. Let's throw him up there and see if he can land a plane in case the pilots chose fish instead of chicken.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you keep using that reference, and
Which, by the way, she did not know the reference. So I want to see those comments lambasting Christy for not knowing the reference. Did you have the fish or the chicken?
I haven't seen that movie in a really long time. But either way, yeah, it's
Every pilot should be able to quote that movie from start to finish.
okay.
All right. Well, maybe not.
But either way, yeah, it's every, pilot, every GA pilot's, fantasy, if you will.
Yeah.
Dan and I talked about this. It's like, oh, you're on the airplane and you've got your Stratus up in the window, and all of a sudden, a flight attendant comes out and says, "Can anybody here fly an airplane?" And
I
you're like,
can.
I can. And so you go up there and realize that both the pilots are incapacitated because something about the fish. And, now you have to land the airplane. Now, in practicality, in real life, this would never happen.
No. Because in real life, what would happen? So let's say you both had food poisoning, significantly enough that you both are going to pass out.
Well, so here's the thing. Obviously, like, food poisoning starts coming on slowly. It's not like you're fine 1 minute
so you're going to have to go to the restroom.
Right. So, you're going to start feeling it and whatnot. Like, one by one, you're going to start whatever. But, like, if it becomes an emergent situation, we're just going to land at the nearest suitable airport. We're going to coordinate with dispatch and be like, yeah, we got to get on the ground.
Right.
That's more likely what's going to happen. There have been cases where one pilot has become suddenly incapacitated. And
that's why you have 2 pilots.
That's one of the reasons why we have 2 pilots. But in that situation, again, the other pilot they declare an emergency. They land the airplane. They go, where they need to go. In practicality, like, if you had the time and everything else, you would maybe seek another pilot. Maybe somebody's deadheading, and they can come up and help. But
would you?
I'm getting over a cold.
Would you have a list of who's on your plane, like a manifest that might show somebody's deadheading?
Yeah, we're able to access on our work iPads if there's deadheading crew.
So you could look real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's the scenario that would never happen, but
would be
I got
very
to go
unlikely.
through it. But
Yeah.
I got to go through it.
But here's the thing. So just because it doesn't happen in the airlines doesn't mean it can't happen in corporate or Part
something
91 or whatever. So it's happened in several Part 91 flights.
Yeah.
There's the guy with the King Air.
The guy with King Air.
He was a private pilot.
Yeah, and not a very experienced one, and hadn't been in a while.
Right.
And his pilot died of a heart attack, and he had to take over with the autopilot working, kind of working, and that's the situation in mine. My scenario is I get up there. You guys, now not you, Christy, but most airline pilots fly for the first 20 seconds, hit a button, and then fly for the last 20 seconds. You like to hand fly a lot more than that.
I absolutely like. In fact, the other day we were flying. We had done. I think we had done like 3 legs that day or whatever. It was like leg 3, and we got up to like 6,000 feet, and I was like, all right, autopilot on. Like, I was done with the hand flying for the day. I actually said to the captain, I was like, yeah, I normally wouldn't turn it on this early, but it's been a long day.
Right. So I get up into the cockpit and the autopilot's on, but I got to figure things out. And the first step was just figuring out how to talk to air traffic control and find out where the switch was. So that was interesting. And then, but I don't want to give too much about that because we'll release that video as soon as I get back to editing every night. And anyway, but I just wanted to give everybody an update of what's going on. The big news at the channel is we've got our In the Hangar coming up.
And the hangar is coming up.
It's going to be February 15, 16, and 17 at the studios in Fort Worth, technically Haltom City. But if you'd like to come and be a part of the audience during any of those 3 days, we would love to have you come. And in the community section of the YouTube channel or on the Facebook Taking Off group, we'll have details about where hotels are, what airport to fly into, and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. It's simultaneously exhausting and really fun at the same time.
Yeah. And I'm working on the guest list right now. We'll have a few of our favorites. We're going to have the two Joes come back, a couple of Joes, Joe Johnson and Joe Casey, who are both DPEs. We had one episode last year, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, that's a lot of fun. I know we're getting close to our 100,000 subscribers. You want to push me out of an airplane. I know we're talking to another guy that does parachute jumping.
Yep.
So I'm actually very interested to talk to him. So
yeah, so we're going to have a bunch of different guests. We'd love to have you guys come. But we'll shoot a whole bunch more, and we'll start getting videos out again here in a few weeks. I'd like to try to lean into the news more. I've debated on whether or not to even do a weekly, like every Friday afternoon or every pick a time and day and put it in my calendar and do a weekly aviation news thing. And if you think you'd be interested in that, go to YouTube and leave a comment. If you're watching this on or listening to this on YouTube, you can leave a comment on this video. If you're on Spotify or iTunes, any of that, you'd have to go to YouTube. But I'd love to hear your feedback on whether you would watch a weekly aviation news.
honestly, I would much rather do something like that. Like you and I have talked about it before. That's one of the reasons why I don't really do the news. Number one, I don't when stuff is breaking news or whatever, I'm usually flying or otherwise occupied.
Me too.
Well, the other thing is that usually when it's very new, when it is in that breaking news, arena, we don't have enough information. And it's happened to me a couple of times where I got information, we put it out there, and then it turns out that the information we got was not correct.
Right. It's inaccurate.
Right, exactly. And I feel I don't want to do a disservice to the community by propagating false information. Like, that's not what I'm here for. So that's why I was like, you know what? I'm not a newscaster. I'm clearly not doing this right. So, Dan and I had this conversation where I took a step back from doing that. I didn't want to do it.
But the news is good. I think it's good for the channel. I think it's healthy. I think that we've got to constantly be adapting on the channel. I just was at a luncheon with I was on a panel where we were talking about this kind of stuff and content. And the crazy thing is that, you look back to 10 years ago in YouTube land, you get a Hero 2, put it on the cockpit of your Lear jet and an hour and a half flight, and you just hit go and you post that video and you got 1 million views because wow, we've never seen this before. But now if you're trying to do flying videos with your GoPros on your plane today, you're going to get 100 views, and it's just because
it's saturated.
It's saturated, exactly.
Well,
and so you got to constantly be adapting and changing. And that's why I think that looking at like maybe a weekly news might be a good way to adapt and change. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, I think it would definitely be worth trying because it would give you an opportunity to really research your topics. Number one, make sure that you're getting accurate information. I'm all about the quality over quantity. I'd rather have good quality videos than just pumping it out because it's like breaking news and we got to get the views. I realize that there's a lot of clickbaity stuff out there as well, which I don't. Look, I get it. People want really interesting stuff. They click on the spicy content. And honestly, and I realize that. I understand that some of the comments we've gotten are, well, you guys don't, dive into the spicier stuff. And I'm okay with that, honestly. I know you kind of want it I guess
I go back and forth.
You go back and forth on it. I'm like, you know what? I'm okay if it's not that spicy because I would rather. Less of a risk taker when it comes to that.
Okay, so I'm a risk taker and I also enjoy confrontation. So yes, and you know, we talked about I've already started scripting a video that I plan on doing here pretty quick, and it's going to be a total news rant. It's not news. It's going to be a rant, and it's going to be about what's going on some things that are controversial. But
you like the controversy.
I do like it. It's not about getting views. I just enjoy it. So
yeah, I don't like the controversy. I don't.
No. So I won't write the script for you on this particular issue that you know what I'm talking about.
I appreciate
So look for that video soon. How's that for a tease?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, well, that's pretty much what's going on with the channel. Christy's flying. I took a little bit of a break. I'll be coming back soon and starting to do some editing, getting some more videos out. Appreciate you guys being loyal to the channel and watching. And we can't do this without our sponsors like Marshall Protective Services, mpsprotects.com, Colton Mortgage, coltontakingoff.com. We've got Flying Eyes, of course. If you use our discount code taking off, all caps, one word, at flyingeyesoptics.com, you can get 10% off. Clemens Insurance. Jerry has saved me a lot of money on my insurance. I just renewed with him recently. So also Z-Vision, the brightest landing and taxi lights, and 67 Designs. We just did a commercial for them, and that was a lot of fun. They are truly the highest quality mounts you can get for your car, boat, or plane, for your tablet or cell phone, and all made in America. So visit our sponsors. We've got links at the YouTube page, and using them help support us. And we'll see you guys next time on the Taking Off podcast.